Ooh, hello everybody. This is Burn.
Oh, I'm starting now. This is Rye, and you are listening to the Bodacious Rant with the spooky version of Burn and Rye. Okay, I can't do it. I'm being dumb. Anyways, how are you, mein Freund?
Other than being scared, I'm okay.
Scared of what?
Scared of you.
Okay, well, I can be pretty terrifying. Or, someone has said I terrify people. I should be on radio. So, mostly from women.
Are you sure just they didn't say that you just have a face for radio?
They could have said that, yeah, but
That might have been one of the things.
it may have been one of those things. Yeah. It's fine. I'm not hurt. We're all here.
We're all here. We're all scary. It's okay.
Even with everything going on, in all honesty, it doesn't feel like October. It doesn't feel like Halloween this year. But let's be happy that it is almost the end of 2020. The holidays are coming around, so if you don't spend it with extended family, I hope everyone can spend like Thanksgiving and Christmas with their personal family, because it's definitely gonna be a different year for plenty of people. You know, so I mean, you know what I mean when I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, just because of circumstances, it's going to be different this year. But you know what? It's all in our hearts.
Yes, just like we'll have Bowie.
We'll always have Bowie in our hearts.
But no, so let's get started. I wanted to do more Halloween episodes, but because of work and everything, let's just talk about this episode, some family friendly stuff. What we suggest or what we'd like, to kind of get us in the mood of Halloween and the spooky season, and what we think would be good for anyone who just doesn't want to get that scared, or maybe who wants to spend it with like kids, cousins, children, like their own kids, stuff like that. Um, does that sound right, or should you explain it in a much more accurate tone, Brian?
Yeah, no, just that you want to spend the Halloween season for the children. If you want to watch movies or go out and do some scary things with them, it's like you have to be very careful because they are children. They will be scarred for life depending on the things you expose them to when it comes to the horror stuff. So we are definitely going to lean a little more into the family side of the Halloween stuff, at least for this episode.
Oh yeah, there's definitely gonna be another episode. We're gonna really dive into some terrifying stuff, or at least stuff that we think definitely really pitches Halloween. But let's get started. Let's recommend a few things that help us get in the mood. Would you like to go first, Burn?
I could go first. So the first movie I want to bring up is the movie Monster House that came out in 2006.
Yes, I actually really like that movie. I never saw it in theaters just because I was kind of at that stage. Like, given I was only like 14 at the time, but I feel like when you're a kid growing up, there's a certain point where you actually exactly like the main character, where you feel like you're growing up past certain things.
Yeah, where you're aging out of certain things that you would do as a kid into more, I guess, teenage adult things.
Yeah, like I wanted to be more into adult stuff, and I thought Monster House was just one of those movies like, it's just for kids. But then I remember I ended up renting it from Blockbuster or something, and I thought this movie low key is actually pretty good.
Yeah, it was one of those movies where I'm like, oh, it's just one of those animated movies for kids. Like, whatever, it's just gonna be its thing, and then it's not gonna have any like lasting impact. But again, when I saw it, it was actually pretty well done movie. I thought, oh wow, this is actually pretty dope. I didn't think I would like this movie, but it's like one of my favorite, like I guess, kids Halloween movies.
Yeah, I mean that's just a good movie for everyone to watch. It just has a lot of things I feel like you can get into, like you're old, reminiscing of old childhood fears about the scary noises in the house. And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, this is a 3D animated film, like Burns said, came out in 2006, about a kid. I forgive me, I don't remember the main character's name, but
DJ, yeah, little
DJ,
kid DJ.
thank you. And who was his buddy's name? Do you know?
His buddy was Chowder, I believe.
Yeah, Chowder. Okay. So DJ and Chowder, they're getting ready for Halloween in a day or two. And Chowder is all excited about trick or treating, still a kid, where DJ, he's hitting that point in his life that he wants to be more adult and he doesn't want to feel like a kid anymore.
Yeah, everybody knows that moment where they're like, I'm too old for trick or treating now, you know?
And like a lot of childhood stories, this kid also had a very cranky, scary neighbor that no one ever wanted to mess with, especially because if something touched his lawn, like your basketball, your bike, your frisbee, your kite, whatever, what it may be,
it's gone forever.
Oh,
You're never getting it back.
He was voiced by Steve Buscemi, Mr. Nevercracker. I will never forget that name.
Yeah, Nevercracker.
And Steve Buscemi's character is just, again, the guy who lives in a very well-kept house, essentially, where the lawn is always crisp and clean. His house is always well-kept, and just nothing touches his lawn, or else he'll chop your head off. Not really, but he'll scream at you and stuff. But And DJ and Chowder, how it starts off is that their basketball goes onto his yard. DJ tries to get it, and he, without knowing, Mr. Nevercracker comes out to stop him, and he thought, that's weird. That shouldn't be happening. And yeah, Nevercracker actually has a heart attack on the spot. So he is now declared the kid who killed Nevercracker. And but the strange thing is, when he disappears, when he gets carted off in the ambulance thinking he's dead, the house suddenly, there's smoke coming from the chimney. So as if somebody's there, and it turns out the house is possessed by a spirit. So it literally is a monster house.
Yep, it's in the title.
Yeah, exactly. And again, like I said, that's why I like it, just because it's a fun, stupid movie about these dumb kids who are trying to stop a house. And the way the house is designed, like as a creature, is actually pretty well done. It's pretty straightforward. The windows are eyes, the tongue comes out of the door. But I just thought the way it looked was actually really cool.
Yeah, it was pretty creative in how they made it. Exactly like you said, like a monster, like a monster house. if I can repeat the title just over and over again.
And it's not on any streaming platform, correct?
Yeah, it's not on anything that I saw. So if you have to seek it out, you'll probably have to rent it, probably like on Amazon or Vudu or whatever service you guys use, maybe iTunes, anything.
I definitely use iTunes, and I would think that, I mean, it was on Netflix for a while.
It was, yeah.
I think they took it off, but yeah, I definitely would say it's worth the rental, and I would definitely say for kids about maybe, I mean, any age really. You know, maybe if a little baby gets that scared easily, you know, instead of getting distracted, maybe don't do it for them. But honestly, it's just a fun movie. You just kind of want to relive your childhood memories. And also, if you want to get your kids more into the spooky season.
Yeah, exactly. It's not, there's nothing in that movie specifically that will, like, I think trigger, like, any, like, scary thing. I don't think it's, like, that scary or anything like that. It's just a fun kids movie. Where you know the kids decide to fight this house with like water guns. it's just one of those movies.
And when the girl wants to take the bigger one and he gets the small, he's like, I want the bigger one. Oh, you've got to be kidding me! Yes, which I would do the same thing. I'm like, that was mine. Like,
yeah, I want the big water gun, the super soaker.
I do miss super soakers, kind of. Like, I never really had any epic battles with super soakers, but they were still kind of cool to have.
Oh, dude, man, I remember getting like the ones from the Dollar Tree or like the 99-cent store, the little cheapy ones. And then either like my cousin or friends would come in with the legit super soakers that had like super pressure on them. So I'd just be like, my skin's on fire. And I would have these little weak pumps that just did nothing.
Rich people. I'm kidding. My grandfather always used to have like little stupid squirt guns at his house because he had a pool, and I feel like maybe we went to Toys R Us a couple times for super soakers, but besides that, it was never like a thing in our house. You know, it's just, especially because like we lived near the beach, so it was one of those things like you have the water at your disposal. You don't need a super soaker. It's like, fine, whatever.
Oh well, excuse me. Some of us grew up in the middle of nowhere. There's no water over here. We have no water back home. We all share one water bottle from Arrowhead.
It's probably not a good option during a pandemic, though.
No, no, you're right. It's not a good idea. That's my
What
pop.
Monster House, I definitely like. That is a good suggestion. What else you got for me?
Let's see. I got another. And looking at my list, the majority of animated movies, but another like 3D animated movie that I did really enjoy was the movie Coraline.
Fun fact: I never saw it until like last year.
Really?
Oh yeah, I never. Just because I was in that mindset when I was younger that it kind of reminded me a lot of like the claymation horror stuff. I just kept thinking Tim Burton. That was my only mindset, just because I had
Yeah.
Nightmare Before Christmas growing up, and it was just one of those things I never got interested in. I mean, I kind of remember people talking about it, but not until I was more of an adult that people were more into it, which is a little weird. That more adults are into a kids movie than actual kids were into it at the time. So yeah, I just remember sitting down watching it. I think I rented it or it was on Netflix. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna watch it. Let me see what the hype is about. And wow, yeah, Leica Studio is easily just one of the best claymation animation, if not the best claymation
Oh, they
out
are.
there.
I'd say yeah, they're number one. Like yeah, exactly. Leica Studios. If anyone hasn't seen their movies, you got to go check it out. Maybe with Coraline and
Paranorman,
Paranorman. What was that one? Kubo, right? Kubo and the Two Strings. That was
yes,
amazing.
all great films. And then I think Box Trolls.
Oh yeah, I think that one was.
That's
I
another.
actually haven't seen Box Trolls. I remember
Me
like I
neither.
started watching it, but I never like got through it. Not because it was bad or anything, but I think I just got distracted at the time or something.
I just never got around to watching it. And they also, I want to say, did the Bigfoot movie. I forgot what that one was called last year with Hugh Jackman. Yeah, I forgot who was in it, but I remember that. I feel like they did that one. But
Oh yeah, the one with Bigfoot or something like that, right?
mhm.
Yeah, I need to check that one out. I remember seeing it like it was on Hulu, but I never actually watched it. I remember seeing the thumbnail though. I wonder if it's still there.
Same. But let's get back to it. Coraline. Now,
Yes.
since I kind of botched the last one, why don't you tell everybody what Coraline is about?
So Coraline is based on the book of the same name, written by Neil Gaiman. If anyone's a fan of that guy, he's done a lot of cool things like The Sandman and American Gods, and he's done a lot of really cool stuff in the comics and novel industry. So if you want to like check him out, I definitely suggest you guys do that. But Coraline is a story about this 11-year-old girl where her and her family move into this house, and in this house she finds a doorway which essentially leads to like a parallel universe of her life. So everything that she doesn't like about her current state of life, how like her mom and her dad act towards her and all that stuff, it's completely the opposite. It's like an idealized world of what this girl wants. But of course, with everything, there's something sinister beneath the surface. Are you scared?
I am terrified. No, no. Actually, that is the best way to put it. That it, and again, it's just the animation, the visuals behind this film were what really grabbed me when I first saw it, and the simplicity of the story. It was just, and there was a lot of Tim Burton like throwbacks to it, essentially. Where, because again, when you, I feel like a lot of the claymation films now, especially like Coraline, Paranorman, maybe not Paranorman so much, but even just like Coraline, it pays a lot of tribute to Tim Burton, what he did with like Night Before Christmas and some of the other works he did.
Yeah, and
And
I mean, on that, I should mention that the director of this movie, Henry Selick, was actually the director of Nightmare Before Christmas.
thank you, reminding me why there was a connection because of that. I was gonna say like also just there's a lot of Tim Burton kind of set the pace for that claymation horror a little bit. So for that, a lot of that translated into Coraline again. But that's why you explained it. The director did both films, so that's why there's so much similarities there.
Yeah, there's a lot of crossover in the style and just the overall creepiness of it. Like it's so cool. Like just the idea of the mom and the dad on the other side having like buttons for eyes. It's just like a really crazy like visual idea.
That and just how Coraline gets everything she wanted, like her imagination come to life behind that door,
Hmm.
where real life is very dreary. And yeah, I really like what it took on the other side, just the lengths it took like what can we do to really make this place sound great? You know,
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
it really brings up the question, be careful what you wish for. It's like, you never know, like if you get everything you want, if that's exactly what you want, but just, taken to an extreme level.
exactly. And I don't know all the voice actors for it, to be honest. So I could have done more research for that one. But
I remember Dakota Fanning was Coraline. She played the main
oh,
role.
I can kind of hear that now that I'm like playing it back in my head.
But
But
yeah, she did a really good job at voice acting. I don't know if she's done any other voice acting roles, but in this one in particular, she did a really good job.
I just again I love that when Leica does a movie, all their claymation has a sense of texture and organic nature to it. Like they feel like real thing, like they could be real things, not just clay, but like you touch the character, they'll feel like skin and hair or fur or scales, stuff like that. So I
Yeah,
love.
yeah, just a credit to that studio because it's so hard to do, to go in and pose a character, then take a picture, pose it again, take another picture. It's a very lengthy process, and for it to be as detailed and as well done as it is, that it's just a credit to their artistry over there.
I just thought of Parks and Rec where Ben is unemployed and he tries to make a claymation film and he's all excited about it, but really it's only like 2 seconds. He thought,
Uh-huh.
I've spent 9 weeks on this, or somehow many months. It's like, oh no, Ben,
Hmm.
you don't know what you're doing.
It's because like yeah, because you don't really realize it. The movies we see are just to get a little technical with it, 24 frames per second. That means every second there's one like still photo. Imagine taking 24 pictures back to back to back every single second. So exactly, like you have to get 24 just to have 1 second worth of content.
Again, God bless the crews behind that and just the visionaries and people who work on those films because how you're putting it, claymation is not something to joke about. It is definitely a very serious thing.
Hmm. Time
Especially,
consuming, I imagine.
yeah. Speaking of claymation, I know there's one. I'm really looking forward to the next one. That you told me you want to talk about. So, why don't you get into the next one? Speaking of claymation films, but
Cool.
actually, real quick before we start, I would say Coraline. Correct me if I'm wrong. I would recommend for ages like 7 and above. I think that's a good age.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably even push that a little higher, maybe like 10 and above. It is a little creepier than a lot of the definitely more creepy than Monster House, I would say.
Yeah, Coraline definitely had a much more sense of horror in this one, like more dire circumstances than Monster House.
Yeah, so yeah, I would say yeah, like it like early like 9, 10-ish going up. Yeah, I guess it depends on the kid, what they can handle,
But
but
for
definitely a little
adults,
bit more preteen.
yeah, but for adults, honestly, if you guys want to watch something vibrant, fun, really just makes you thankful for what you have in life and get a good dose of horror and fantasy, I'm going to say Coraline is a great suggestion to go with.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Now, like I said, flash forward. Talk about the next one because it is one of my favorite movies growing up.
Okay, this is the last one that I have that is animated. So it is Wallace and Gromit: Curse of the Were-Rabbit.
Yes. Yes.
So Wallace and Gromit seems like it's been kind of a long-running like British claymation animation thing. I don't know if it started off as movies from the beginning or if it was like maybe like little like TV shorts or something. I'm not really too sure 100% on the origin of these characters themselves. But this is the only movie I've seen of these characters, Wallace and Gromit, which is this old this I guess I don't know what would he be? Maybe like not really middle aged, but like he'd like an adult dude with his dog Gromit.
I would say I could envision him being like 30s,
Yeah,
maybe
like
middle age, but not
maybe just the fact that he's bald throws me off.
that, and his voice is so calming and so British. Maybe
Yes,
that's
very
why
very
we're,
British.
we're thinking he's very old. But honestly, yeah, I could see him being late 20s, late 30s, like to late 20s to late 30s. I would think that would, if they were to do a live action, that's the age range I would look for.
Yeah. So yeah, this is like a British claymation thing, kind of in the vein of what was that, Chicken Run? Is that what that movie was called? Chicken Run. And then I know there was a Shaun the Sheep movie that came out not too long ago. But yeah, it's that style of like British claymation. But in this movie in particular, it's about the two characters, Wallace and Gromit, a man and his dog, who at the time their town is having this vegetable growing competition, like during around the time of like the fall, like Halloweenish era. Then the their crops and stuff start being eaten by rabbits and stuff. So Wallace and Gromit decide to open up their own pest control thing, and then later they find out that there's something crazier out there that's taking on their vegetables, what they refer to as the were rabbit. So they're trying to take the were rabbit down, and there's also this other guy called Quartermain who's trying to go out and kill the rabbit. Think of him like exactly like the Quartermain of you know the stories and stuff like this, the British dude that likes to hunt monsters and stuff. So yeah, I think it's a really fun movie, especially for families and for kids. I didn't think I'd enjoy it as a kid, but for some reason the humor really spoke to me. It's just very silly, and I no other way really to describe it than very like British humor.
I loved Wallace and Gromit. I mean, I know one of my buddies growing up, he had a couple movies, and I think we watched one or two of them at his house, but I never cared for him just because when I was a kid, I was like, we're not here to watch movies. Let's go out and let's go do stuff kind of thing. But then watching The Curse of the Were Rabbit at home, I thought, wow, not only is this hilarious, but it's a good take on the Wolfman story that there's something out there terrorizing the townsfolk. And instead
Yeah,
of murdering people, it's murdering their vegetables that they
yeah,
work so hard to grow. And it's so stupid just because it doesn't take gold, or it doesn't take silver, it takes gold
yeah.
bullets to kill the were rabbit. So
Uh-huh.
it's
I just
just
remember that scene where it's like a solid gold. Yes, 24 carats. Like the priest was just like way too excited about it.
that, and then just Gromit's fit. Just because Gromit doesn't talk, he's a silent character. Wallace does all the talking for him. If you guys haven't seen this, and
Yeah.
his facial expressions at certain points. Like I remember there's one scene where he's looking at the newspaper and looking at Wallace after the first attack of the were rabbit, and he's just looking at him like, wait, oh my god, it's you, kind of like he just has the perfect face. The animation really is very simplistic, like big eyes and little thin mouths, like literally just almost like a cheap looking way of claymation, compared to
Yeah.
Leica, but it works. It works just the same. It's another great film that you can visually get enriched in and very invested in. And yeah, no, I totally that's easily one of my favorite ones as a kid. Just partially because I just loved how stupid it was, especially when there's like an old lady or something guarding their vegetable, and the were rabbit's coming after him until Gromit gets in the way of it. Oh man, that was a good one. I love that one a lot.
Yeah, that's so cool that you've heard of it. Because just because I think I guess maybe I'm just ignorant to it, but I thought it wasn't like that big of a movie that had come out. I didn't know how many other people, especially just here in the U.S. Like since I thought it was maybe just a little more of a British thing. But that is cool. I'm glad you liked it too, and I hope the viewers you guys check it out if you haven't, because it is a pretty fun time.
Again, if you want, also this is one like if you want a buddy comedy that again it's not that scary, but it's just a fun take on the Wolfman. Like if you like those old classic monster movies, this is one for you, your kid cousins, your kids, or whatever little brat you have with you at the time. That's good. Whether it be a babysitter or not, kind of thing. That's what I was intending more for. It's like if you're a babysitter, this is a good movie to watch for the kids.
Yeah, and then yeah, I guess in terms of like age range for this one, I would say kind of all ages. It seems like it's one of those movies that can appeal to everybody. It's not like overly scary or has these themes that are like crazy or anything. It's just an enjoyable movie.
Exactly, but like I said, let's keep the ball rolling. Burn, what's another? Kind of throw another one at me.
Okay, trying to go into the live action stage now, and I'm sure this is one you'll really enjoy it too because it's another one of those Tim Burton productions. It is Beetlejuice.
Of course, you just you read me like a poem, as they say. Again, another childhood favorite. Like that's a movie I'll watch year round. I don't care what season it is, but it definitely works best on Halloween.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Beetlejuice is such a good movie. Tim Burton in his early days, really just throwing his creative genius out there like crazy before, Disney got a hold of him. But we won't talk about that.
And it featured the talents of young, skinny Alec Baldwin, gorgeous Gina Davis, Winona Ryder, who I actually had a crush on growing up watching that movie as a kid.
Oh yeah, I think we all did.
Catherine O'Hara, just hilarious as always.
Yep, she's fantastic in everything.
And it always boggles my mind that Batman was Beetlejuice. That was I never realized. Well, I was talking with my dad about it years ago that he's like, yeah, Michael Keaton was a comedian before he became Batman or any of this. So this is up his alley. Where Batman, I looked it up after a while. I think on one of those Batman days or something that people protested that movie. They did not want Michael Keaton as Batman
Yep.
because this was like the first dark iteration of Batman. This is around the time that Frank Miller's Batman came out and all those other darker stories for him. And they thought we're bringing a comedian as Bruce Wayne in Batman. That's the dumbest thing we could do. Kind of like what happened with Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck's a little more divisive, where Michael Keaton is beloved by all Batman fans.
Yeah, now at least nowadays, yeah, definitely. Because exactly like you said, Michael Keaton, especially him having the last time, worked with Tim Burton was with this movie, Beetlejuice. And Beetlejuice is a very different character than Batman, just completely out there. He's more Joker, I would say, than Batman. So like if someone were to see this and they'd find out that this guy, back in 1989, where you're like, "Oh wait, this guy's going to be Batman?" This is no, this is not right because he's just so crazy and zany as the character of Beetlejuice where you're just like, this guy's all over the place. I can't take him seriously.
I love how you compare him to the Joker, but I don't, I wouldn't see it that way. It's just so weird seeing Michael Keaton as such a stupid comedian in that one because like he hasn't really been in a lot of crazy comedic films either these years. Like he wasn't the other guys, but that was a much more toned down version of what he is in
Oh my
Beetlejuice.
gosh,
So,
he's hilarious in the other guys. I just have to throw that out there. Captain
so,
Gene.
so for those of you who haven't seen Beetlejuice, I will take the role the cane on this one as you will. I will
Okay,
take
yeah.
the
Let,
incantation.
let the people know what it's about.
Yes, again, another. This is easily one of the most classic films, especially Tim Burton film, where Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis are this young couple, the Mertens, and their young couple live in this house where the realtor keeps saying, "Oh my God, this house is too big for you guys. You don't need such a big house. This should be for a family." And they're trying to start a family. So one day they decide to go pick up something from town and come back where a dog causes them to crash off a bridge and they somehow make it to their house. We don't know how, but they walk back and
Hmm.
that's when you find out that they're dead. They are
Yeah,
ghosts in their own house
they
because
are
they also
spirits now.
yeah, because they have no reflection and they find a book known as the Book for the Recently Deceased. And again, what happens afterwards is that their house gets sold finally to a family, not a family they would have wanted because Catherine O'Hara and do you remember the actor's name who played the husband? I can't.
Hold on. Oh my gosh, what was his name? I can't remember it
I
off the
can't
top of
think
my
of the
head.
husband. Catherine O'Hara, Winona Ryder, their family moves in. They're an East Coast, very artsy, strange out there family where the
Oh,
dad's
is it Jeffrey Jones?
is it? Oh, that doesn't sound right. I don't know. Well, we'll let the
Charles, right? That was the guy's name.
yeah, Charles. Oh, what was the family's name? Gooten, Charles Dietzes. There we go. The family that moved in are known as the Dietzes, and
Yeah.
again, so out there because Catherine O'Hara is a very artsy person where she wants to change the house. So they do everything they can, and the person that they find to get them out of their house is Beetlejuice, but he's a oh I don't want to give it away anymore. Just because Beetlejuice is such a it's almost like he's a dead person, but he became more of a demon, like a poltergeist, as you will.
Yeah,
So,
just a terror.
and it's so again, Tim Burton is a true visionary when it comes to just mixing horror and comedy together. Especially the part that always got me as a kid that really did scare me was when he became the snake just because the teeth, the rattling,
Oh
his
yeah.
eyes were just horrifying to me. Like, because I still have a fear of snakes, so that's also what got me at the time.
Oh, that'll do it. Yeah.
Oh my god! But it was such a fun movie. A little too adult, I think, for young kids. I would definitely recommend like preteens, teenagers, and just in
Yeah.
general. And I actually remember in college, me and our mutual acquaintance Disney, we went to a Tim Burton concert or Danny Elfman concert.
Oh, at the Hollywood Bowl?
No, it was actually at the LA Live, like the Staples Center.
Ah, okay.
So we got to live out a whole concert of all those Tim Burton films, and also see the concept art that they put up with some scenes of the movies in there. So,
That's awesome.
and hearing Beetlejuice's score in the stadium was really fun. Just like, oh my god, no, I love these movies so much more after that. I think that's also what kind of reignited my love for Tim Burton as an adult. Just because, again, I grew up with these movies, but it was just one of those things that there's better stuff out there. But then after that concert, I was like, nope, they're definitely some of the best out there. Strictly also because of the music.
Yeah, exactly. His whole thing is just the vibe. When you hear Tim Burton, you get that vibe of what it's gonna be. Just something a little dark, something a little bit scary, a little bit creepy, but also very funny and quirky and enjoyable. And the music's gonna be great, and you're gonna have a fun time the entirety of it. So, and I know exactly what you mean. Tim Burton just has that sort of stamp on, I guess, the horror genre.
Yes, this is a must see for all. So please, Byrne is a genius when it comes to this.
Yes,
Just
everybody listen to Ryan when he says I'm a genius.
oh, thank you. I am very wise. Thank you. So you try to backhand me, but I took it as a turn the other cheek. Not really. I just 360 dodged your slap. So
360 dodge into a roundhouse kick.
I could dodge your slap and take you out with a spinning back kick, or take the hit and die. I should have gone with Plan A.
Should have gone with plan A.
But all right, let's move on. What else you got for me?
Okay, and for the last recommendation I've got, at least, is my favorite Mel Brooks movie, hands down. I know. I don't know if a lot of people are going
No,
to agree, but
Brooks. What is it?
it is Young Frankenstein.
Oh, you're blessing my soul today with all these easily some of the best suggestions. No one talks about Young Frankenstein.
No, no one does. I feel like it's kind of been forgotten for whatever reason. A lot of more people, I think, are familiar with Spaceballs than they are of Young Frankenstein.
Which, well, Spaceballs has been on Netflix and stuff, so I can see
That is true.
and
I remember Young
I can't
Frankenstein was there for a little bit, but it got taken off.
oh, I wish I watched it just because I have it on Blu-ray, but I can't find it anywhere digital. It's not on iTunes or anything, so that bums me out because I can get any other Mel Brooks movie except for Young Frankenstein.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's easily, like I said, my favorite Mel Brooks movie. It is so damn funny, especially when I saw it recently. I think I saw it about a year or two ago when it was on Netflix just for a little while. But man, all the humor just it holds up. It hits. Of course, like being more adult now, like I catch a few things. I'm like, oh, I didn't see that as a kid. But
exactly. As an adult, you really see more of the humor. Like I never got to him, but the whole knockers on the door and just Gene Wilder. What knockers? As he's lifting up the Inga to get out of the carriage, just thank you, doctor.
oh, thank you, doctor. So for
I was
those,
like, hey, would you like to have a Harlan's hey? And it's like, oh no, already? Like basically, I guess that's like a sexual term. And she's like, it's fun, like just roll. It's like
or elevate me here right now. Yes, elevator, make it go up.
the platform. Oh, that yeah. Oh my gosh. As an adult, it's Mel Brooks's humor just gets funnier and funnier every time you watch it.
Yeah, definitely. Like it's funny. It's like one of those things where like you can find the humor of it when you're a younger kid, but as you grow older, you just catch more and more things, and it's just like this is so genius.
And again, it stars Gene Wilder, Madeline Kahn,
Hmm
so many great actors in it.
Cloris Leachman.
Oh, yes, I was
It's
Frau
hilarious.
Blucher. And the horses,
The horse,
everything goes scary with the horses.
everyone freaks out with their name.
This is Frau Blucher. Just, I don't know what's got into them.
So for those of you who don't know, this movie is about a young neurosurgeon, Victor von Frankenstein, who's Frankenstein's great his god his
Great
grandson.
grandson,
His
yeah.
great grandson, yeah. So it's his great grandson, and wants to separate himself from that name, Frankenstein, because he thinks that work that he did with the monster was just poppycock, essentially, and he's trying to be taken seriously as this neurosurgeon. But once he inherits the castle Frankenstein, and he finds his like grandfather's his work and stuff, he's like, okay, maybe there's a little something here, and he starts going into madness and going down the same road that his grandfather did. And yeah, he meets the character of Igor, who he calls Igor.
Just to spite him too, because when they first meet, he says Dr. Frankenstein, all creepy and like quirky,
Uh-huh.
or just sleazy kind of smile, and he says Frankenstein. You're putting me on. No, it's Frankenstein. What's your first name? Frederick. Well, why isn't it Frederick Frankenstein? It isn't. It's Frederick Frankenstein. I see. Oh, then you must be Igor. No, it's pronounced Igor. Well, they told me it was Igor. Well, they were wrong then, weren't they? I
Oh
just
yeah,
love.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the Gene Wilder's character is Frederick, but his grandfather was Victor von Frankenstein.
But he actually plays his grandfather too, because
Yeah, he does.
it's his picture that it emulates when he does stuff. So like when he discovers his grandfather's work, the picture's all crazy haired and smiles too. Like
Yeah.
yes,
This movie is just absolutely hilarious. There's Mel Brooks running on all cylinders with, the physical comedy, the whole, adult comedy where you're like, oh well, they can interpret this in a different way, and it's hilarious for that. Just the writing so well done, and just the visual comedy too, with like Igor and his humpback that always switches sides.
yeah, just well, no. The best part is just I'm a brilliant surgeon. I could help you with that hump. What hump? It's just and then just ignores it like oh it's not there. I don't have a hump. But it's like oh dude, clearly you have a hump. Like it's there.
Yeah, yeah.
And just whenever it moves, and after a while, Gene Wilder just. I feel like that was him really just like, oh, whatever, I'm done with this. Let's just keep going.
Uh-huh. But
Oh,
yeah,
but
just
that was
classic by every term.
and for everybody. I mean, again, there's some adult humor to it, but if you're kids, if you're a kid, you're not going to get all of it, but it's still going to come off as funny. At least it did for me as a kid.
Yeah, I would say like it's enjoyable for kids in a way that kind of I guess I would say Austin Powers is, but not definitely not to the lengths that Austin Powers goes to. It's a little bit more extreme and adult, but I guess if you wanted to compare it to something, it would kind of be like that in terms of like, what they're referencing.
Yeah, a lot of parents when they found out I saw The Spy Who Shagged Me as my first Austin Powers movie, they were not happy about it. There were some parents that were like, "You should not be watching that." I'm like, "Well, my friend and his family watches it. What does it
Hmm.
matter?" So
And then yeah, it's so funny because they think as kids like we're catching on to a lot of these like sexual innuendos, but we're not. Like I didn't see that at all with those movies. I was just seeing like the stupid things Austin Powers was doing or like the dumb situations he was getting himself into.
and the stupid names of the women he meets, it's so dumb. But oh man, that's all you got. You want to end it on Young Frankenstein for your reviews?
Yeah, I'm gonna end out on a high note. Young Frankenstein, like I said, it's just mwah, chef's kiss. One of the best I would say one of the best comedies of all time.
Of course it is. Again, it's such a bummer that not a lot of people talk about it, and I'm like, this is easily one of the best movies of all time, whether it's comedy or drama, whatever. It is easily one of the best. One of my
Mm.
favorites for all time. Never stops being funny. But I will continue on. So,
Yeah, I'm gonna pass the baton on to you. Take it and run.
why does it have to be a baton? Can I have
Fly, fly.
like an axe or a sword or a club?
Okay.
Okay, you know what? I'm done with
Just
this.
take it, whatever it is. You can be whatever you want.
That doesn't sound right. Just take it. What is this? I don't want it.
I don't want it at all.
Like Young Frankenstein is, these are some of my best movies for Halloween, and they also work just year round in general. The Ghostbusters 1 and 2, the OG ones.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yes.
Hands down. Yes. I was hoping you would say Ghostbusters because I know you brought it up like towards the tail end of the last one, but no, go on.
Yeah, and honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I know we didn't really state this in the beginning, but the reason why we want to talk about these movies, not only for families and just comedies in general, is just because there's that whole 31 horror nights. That's all I've been seeing online. Everybody's doing the 31 nights of horror, Halloween stuff. And I'm kind of in that mindset that I don't need that many movies to get me in the mood for Halloween. Partially just because I love movies. So I'll watch them whenever the time of year is. But for me, these are some of the movies that just get me the most in the mood year round just because they're so pure hearted. They're so fun. And yeah, Ghostbusters 1 and 2 are some of those movies I can watch no matter what. But recently they've been on repeat for me, which, again,
As they should be.
yes, thank you. They featured the amazing and hilarious Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, the late Harold Ramis, God rest him, Dan Aykroyd, Rick Moranis, and again, Sigourney Weaver. Like, it's just such a star-studded cast, and they're almost out of their norms. Rick Moranis, not so much, but and everybody like Sigourney Weaver, because I just get every time I think of her name, I always think of aliens.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. No, me too.
Singing in Ghostbusters is such a more grounded character is just it's kind of a weird thing for me, but it's also great just because she's a fantastic actress through and through.
Yes.
So this takes place in the 80s. Both films are, I want to say 87 and 89, just because I know 1980, because the second one took place like around New Year's time. And essentially, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Harold Ramis, or Ray Stantz, Pete Venkman, and Egon, oh my God, what's his name? Egon Spengler? Yeah, Egon Spengler. They're three scientists who are disgraced because they believe in paranormal activity and they believe in the spiritual world. Also, because Bill Murray's Dr. Venkman is just a lunatic. Just and he uses science as more of a joke. Mm-hmm. The whole beginning of the movie is that he's doing a psychic test, testing how shocks and stress work with ESP. And one is a gorgeous girl, the other is just some struggling guy. Not doing well because Bill Murray keeps shocking him, even though his answers are a little more correct than the girls. The girl's just guessing stupid stuff, but he's clearly wooing her, just saying, "My God, are you seeing these? Like you really have a gift." And the other guy, my favorite part is that when he gets the last card actually correct, he still shocks him. He just doesn't care. And then he's just, I didn't volunteer for shocks. Well, we're paying you, aren't we? No, you can keep your $5. I will, mister. Thank you.
Like, wow, you were doing that just for $5?
After he's like, oh yeah, we only have 75 more cards to go. It's like, oh my God, 75 shocks. You're going to do that for 75? And basically what both movies, they're basically the same plot, just, a little more extension of the first one, that ghosts are becoming more prominent in New York. They're coming from all sorts of things, that people are seeing ghosts, and they devise a technology and the means to stop them and catch them. So essentially they're just, ghost catchers that try and prevent the end of the world in both films. One of them is just a random time in New York. The other one takes place on New Year's Eve as like a end of the world type of scenario.
Yeah.
So again, they're for these 80s movies, honestly, the 80s had a lot of classic films for pop culture, whether it be Back to the Future, the Ghostbusters, the Goonies, just so many things that people like either take for granted or just really overhype.
But this one, you can't really overhype it. The first Ghostbusters, again, another just classic, by definition, classic movie.
And I'm not trying to throw shade at the Paul Feig version with Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Leslie Jones, or Kate McKinnon, because I enjoyed that one too, but it definitely just doesn't have that same magic and same awe that the original ones have. You know?
Yeah, there's this like this charm that comes, I think, mainly from the cast of the original Ghostbusters that just runs throughout like the life vein of that movie, which really wasn't present in the Paul Feig one that just came out. But you would think, I mean, all those actresses are really funny, and they're all pretty good in their own way. But just for some reason, it didn't click in that movie. Where this one, in the original, it definitely did.
I feel like the Paul Feig one, real quick, before I move on, that the women didn't really have a lot of room to work with. They were kind of stuck in their their characters. Like they tried to emulate the original characters so much while trying to improve upon them, and it's like they didn't really have a lot of work to be their own humor selves. I feel like because
Maybe if they would have let them like improv a little more, it probably would have come across better. Maybe I don't know.
yeah, I mean that's for another time. I'm gonna stick to the two original Ghostbusters. Those are just classic films, and if you're in the Halloween mood and you want to sit down and enjoy something that's not too terrifying but just so great to watch and still holds up after 30 years, these are the movies to watch.
Yeah, and you definitely watch them too because the new Ghostbusters, which was supposed to come out this year, right? It's coming out next year now.
Yeah,
Ghostbusters Afterlife.
yeah, that's actually supposed to be a continuation of the original two. I was really excited for it. And I still am. It just sucks we have to wait another year. So thanks, COVID.
Thanks again.
And another two-parter I'm throwing at you that kind of blend as one just because it's hard to watch one without the other. Kind of like the Ghostbusters. You can't watch one without wanting to watch the other. Are the old Addams Family movies starring Christina Ricci, Angelica Houston at the time. Do you remember those? Did you ever see those as a kid?
Yes, I did the two live action ones, Addams Family and then Addams Family Values, right?
Yes. Oh my God. Also, Christopher Lloyd as Uncle Fester. It just, oh my God. The first actor, Raul Julia, God rest him, he died of cancer many years ago.
Uh-huh.
But it was just such a great film. The both of them are great just because the first one had, oh my God, I'm blanking on some of the actors right now. But essentially, the first movie is about Gomez and the Addams family missing Uncle Fester because he's been gone for many years. Nobody's heard from him. Nobody's seen him. But what happens is that their accountant, Mr. Tully, he's trying to swindle Gomez out of their fortune because the Addams family is creepy and psychotic, literally sociopathic people.
Oh yeah.
Because they murder, they maim, they're into really just the worst things, but they're also such lovable people. It's like hard to hate them. You
Yeah.
know we should, but
It's so weird.
and it turns out that the person who's working with Mr. Tully, the enforcer is Christopher Lloyd, who actually is Uncle Fester, just has amnesia. So then they try and use him to infiltrate that family, and it turns out it's like, yeah, you're a part of that family whether you like it or not. And the second one is a continuation of that where Joan Cusack actually is thrown into it, and she's a black widow. She'll marry rich guys and kill them. And it's like, good luck doing that with Uncle Fester.
Yeah, she's got to try to con on Uncle Fester. It's like, no, it's not gonna work.
Oh my God. Yeah, just because I remember one of the scenes that again freaked me out when I saw it too, and the second one was they're on their honeymoon in Hawaii and she has a boom box while he's in the bath. She throws it in there just to shoot him. And it's terrifying too. Like, well, there's like he's screaming and the lights are breaking and she's just reveling. It's like, oh my God, I'm rich now because I have his fortune. But he's just still just like, hey honey, like I'm okay.
Uh-huh.
It's all it, like the next scene when they're moving into their mansion, she's just like, I'm her husband. Fester, please. Like she's ashamed of him. Like, oh man, that's so mean. I think Christopher Lloyd's the best person in that movie. He reels me in every time as Uncle Fester.
Oh yeah, he's definitely the highlight and an already really good cast. Christopher Lloyd is just fantastic. It took me so long to realize that was Doc Brown. I was like, wait, that's the same person? Oh my gosh. I don't know, maybe just because of like the skin paint on him and just how different he looks. And I mean, obviously the way how he plays the two characters of Doc Brown and Uncle Fester is so different. But man, if you're gonna watch these movies for any reason, he's like definitely one of the biggest reasons why you should check these movies out.
Exactly. And I know, and another thing too, why I like this movie is that it's such a contrast to as much as I love the Tim Burton movies, it's the fans that praise his stuff so much where they get tattoos of them. They're always wearing his stuff. And I'm like, honestly, why doesn't anyone talk about the Addams Family movies? They're if you want to be dark and creepy, they're the family to be dark and creepy with. Like one of the best jokes in that is that at the end of the first one, it's Halloween, and Christina Ricci, when she was such a little kid, she plays Wednesday Addams. And the lady's like, "Oh, what's your costume, sweetheart?" I'm a psychopath. They're dressed like everyone else. It's like,
It's like, well, you're not wrong.
and then the second one I love too is because the kids are Wednesday and Pugsley are sent to summer camp, and that's when these rich, like bougie ass parents come in, like, "Oh yeah, my son is exceptional. He's already skipped 2 grades. What about your son?" And Gomez is probably like probation, like he's fine. And then Angelica Houston as amazing. Again, it's so crazy. Angelica Houston, like when she was like so young, because I really knew who she was when I saw like Daddy Daycare. Like when I watched, like I remember Daddy Daycare, and then going back and watching like The Witches and Addams Family is so crazy to see. Like it's like she aged, but she not really, because she's still the same person kind of thing.
Yeah, she just kind of has that, again, just that ageless look that she's always looked the same for as long as I could remember.
Yeah, and again, she's just like, oh well, Wednesday is at that age where she only has one thing on her mind, and the mom is like, boys, like all like cute about it, and she's like, homicide. I don't know why. I guess it's just Christina Ricci's straight face as Wednesday. If not for Christopher Lloyd, Christina Ricci is another one to watch because she
Yeah.
does a great job in that.
Yeah, her like deadpan, like straight delivery of just like the most ridiculous things that she says is really well done, especially for her being as young as she was and while playing the role.
Yeah, and I was really bummed out because I don't know if you ever saw these pictures, but it was her dressed up as Morticia, where she had the skin tight black outfit like a few years ago. And like it was a black and white photo that they just retook, I think for some photo shoot. And it was either Rami Malek or Oscar Isaac who were Gomez, and I thought, oh my God, either one of these two guys and her as a new Addams Family movie, sign me up now. But then we got
Yeah,
the
that would have been
animation
great.
film. Yeah, but then we got the animation films, and I'm not. Those ones look a little too weird. Like it doesn't bark up my tree like the other ones. So
Yeah, yeah, it's just not going to be the same. It being an anime. I appreciate they're going to try to do something different with it, but also it's just like, well, then you got to make it good. But they didn't, and it didn't seem like.
yeah, it got very mixed reviews, not very positive. So it is what it is. It's probably just definitely more for younger generations now and people trying to get back into that property. But I would have really loved to see Christina Ricci as either an Adult Wednesday or Morticia, kind of like a nice throwback to the originals. But those movies I definitely recommend to everyone. They also have some adult humor in there, but they're just a fun time to be had by all, and very dark and spooky. So I really
Yeah,
like
have
those.
have a fun family movie night with the Addams family.
I can't agree more. Speaking of creepy and animated films, I'm gonna toss in my couple, which everyone should know. At least maybe not this one. This one I feel like is another underrated film, but this one was Frankenweenie, the claymation Tim Burton movie that came out 6, 7 years ago, I think.
Yeah, like 2013-ish, right?
It was a while ago. Yeah, actually, maybe 2012. One of those.
Maybe, because I remember seeing like advertisements and stuff for a while, like in my freshman year in college. So it had to been around like 2012, 2013, I think.
Yeah, because I remember I red boxed it and I held on to it for like a few days. So that was like $5, $6 down the drain. But this one is basically a retelling of an old black and white film, where this kid, Victor Frankenstein, essentially, this is essentially a retelling of all the classic horror movie monsters of the black and white era, but in this town. Yeah, I want to say it's supposed to be like Transylvania, I believe. I'm probably wrong with that, but Victor Frankenstein, he's his best friend is this dog. I forgot what kind of breed that dog is. Do you remember? I guess it's a weenie dog.
I guess it's just a weenie. Yeah, I think it's just a weenie dog.
And he loves the dog. It's a very smart dog, and he basically acts in all of Victor's movies. And this movie actually takes a jab, I think, at those who don't believe in science, because Victor's very obsessed with science, and they have a new teacher who's supposed to be like the dark and creepy figure, but really he's just a foreign science teacher who just wants people to learn and be educated. So it's almost like shunning science when science should be valued. And the dog essentially dies. He gets run over, but Victor, using his resourcefulness and his desire to bring his dog back, basically makes Frankenstein's monster out of his dog, where he digs him up, puts him back together, and it's kind of funny because the dog does come back to life, but his tail is stitched on, so it'll keep falling off. Sometimes, like, oh, it's okay, buddy, I'll fix that.
Yeah, it is. It is like a nice, cool little. I guess like a children's take on the Frankenstein story.
It's just a take on all those movies, just because, again, like, didn't do it in bringing back his dog. What happens is that the other kids in school want to do the same thing for the science fair. So they have like an Asian kid, a fat kid, and there's a kid who's supposed to be Igor. Actually, is named Igor, who wants to create his own creature. And again, I just love some of the things they come up with. They like create like the invisible monster, the mummy, the wolf man, Dracula, and the creature from the Black Lagoon. Like, they just, if you don't feel like watching the old black and white movies, because for some they may not hold up as well as they should over the last like 100 years, essentially, this is a movie that you really want to get into and maybe introduce younger generations to some of the classic movie monsters.
Oh yeah, and once again, Tim Burton makes the list.
He just, oh my god, I love Tim Burton. Everybody should around Halloween. Which brings me to my next one, which I know everyone is gonna say this is the most overused one, but it's my personal favorite still, Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no list without this movie on it. You just can't. If there's any list of movie recommendations without this movie on it, just throw it out because this is definitely one.
Yeah, and it's a movie that works for both Halloween and Christmas, so it's a it's a
Yeah,
win-win.
just exactly. You get two uses out of it. You know, you have your Halloween and then you have your Christmas movie.
And that's one of the best debates to get into. Just
Oh yeah.
this movie is it's one of the best debates to get into, especially when you were a kid, because some kids are like, "No, it's scary. It's Halloween. No, it takes place on Christmas. It's in the name." And it's kind of fun just stoking the fires like that, in my opinion.
Just be like, no, it's a Thanksgiving movie, and then be like, what?
I mean, yeah, no, never mind.
No, I can't.
I was gonna
I'm
try to
just
play
kidding.
devil's advocate for that, but I can't. You got me
Or
there.
you could say that the message is to be thankful for what you do have, and not to try to do things that are crazy.
Okay, how can you say it's not, but then you just argue it? You make no sense to me. You're,
Because I play both sides, Ryan.
why are you telling me this? Because I want to get ahead while also use that information to get what I want. But you just told me the information.
Yeah, it's like you just told me that you're playing both sides.
I love that episode of Always Sunny. Just it's like he's playing both sides, but he isn't.
Like
That's
you're not supposed to tell each side that you're playing both of them. Like it doesn't work that way. No one's gonna trust you, you moron.
no idiocracy for another night. But again, yeah, Frankenweenie and Nine Before Christmas are two movies. One emulates all the old school movie monsters. This one is a new take about the holiday seasons. And again, it was just one of those classic ones that Jack Skellington, who is essentially the big entertainer, the ruler of Halloween Town, he wants to be something different than just be scary. And in doing so, he tries to hijack Christmas from Santa himself, and it just does not go well at all. So
Uh-huh.
that's just again one of my favorite movies growing up. But the last one I want to end on is going to be the old classic film The Witches. Did you ever see that one?
Oh my gosh. Yes. I remember that movie stuck with me as a kid for obvious reasons if you've seen it. Definitely
Again,
a recommendation.
yeah, I remember on Disney Channel it came on a couple times, and the one scene which we all know about, that one scared the living shit out of me as a kid.
I mean, how could it not? It was just crazy.
Oh my god, just the makeup, the idea behind like really bringing that story to life is just crazy. This one I will explain for everybody. So this is all about the old rolled doll story, The Witches, in which a boy and his grandma go on a trip in England, and in their trip they actually get entangled with a bunch of English witches, and that's where they meet the Grand High Witch, who's the ruler and dictator for all the witches. And basically, they have to stop her from inducing a master plan to kill off all children. And this came out in the '90s, I believe. I'm not sure exactly when, but Angelica Houston, again, the ever so beautiful and talented Angelica Houston, plays the Grand High Witch. The other actors I never knew. I never saw the grandma in anything else, or the boy who Luke. The boy's character is Luke, and he just refers to his grandma as grandma. But his grandmother,
And I also recognize only Rowan
Rand
Atkinson.
Atkinson, yeah, I keep forgetting about him because he plays the hotel manager.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man! But anyways, this is just one of those great movies because it has such a culture, such a telling of a version of witches in this where they have no toes, so they have squared feet. They have to wear comfortable shoes. That they have to wear wigs because they're completely bald. That they wear gloves because their fingers are all creepy and disgusting, and they hate children, which is kind of it's a good story for kids. Just a good like kind of scary story to tell your kids at night, kind of thing.
Yeah, it does. It does work as exactly something to scare your children with because I mean it definitely scared me, but like in a really like fun and cool way.
Yeah, and again, the one scene that gets me is that because the Grand High Witch is actually, you know what? I don't want to spoil it for anybody, just because if you haven't seen this movie, this is one you should definitely watch. Whether you're a kid or adult, this movie is pretty creepy and still holds up over time. I mean, would you agree, Bern?
Oh yeah, I agree 110%. It's just one of those movies like it's my definition of what a witch should be like in terms of it being like a really creepy thing. Like it's not like, oh, this this not traditional, but this like now poppy sexy version of the witch is like, no, it is not that at all. This is some pretty scary stuff going on here, and I really enjoyed it.
Wait, what version of witches are poppy and sexy?
I don't know, just I don't know. Just I mean the costumes. Do I have to like say it?
Yes, yeah, no, the Halloween costumes definitely sexualize witches. And then, I mean, the movie The Witch was pretty terrifying to me, though. I don't know about you. The
Yeah,
movie,
but I mean, just like we don't get that a lot from movies anymore. Just this very like very creepy version of what a witch is. A lot of movies now like focus on, I guess, more like spirits and something like supernatural. Whereas this like image of the witch has become, again, not as scary as it used to be. And with the movie The Witches, that's just my definition of what a witch is. Just how creepy they look and how gross and just ugh, just just disgusting to look at and just like awful things.
yeah, I mean, I think it's also maybe the history of like re-examining the whole witch trials in Salem and all that stuff kind of like really made people think were witches really that bad. So now we get in movies and shows that the witches are more of good people or like they can be good heroes essentially. Like
And then you have things like, I guess, like Hocus Pocus, where they're like not as scary as they should be.
Hocus Pocus is another kind of like I don't know. They're pretty demented in that one too,
But they're funny demented.
yeah,
This
they're
movie
pretty
was like
demented.
this is like creepy demented.
Yeah, they were not funny. I'm sorry, there was nothing funny about any of these witches.
No, not at all.
And that'll be the last one for me, just because, especially because the new one is coming out this week with Anne Hathaway as the Grand High Witch, which I thought like, ooh, I don't know how I feel about this because Anne Hathaway is Anne Hathaway. I don't know whether to be aroused or terrified of her, maybe both. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's with Anne Hathaway. It's like hard to separate her from her roles now. Just for some reason, it's like it's just Anne Hathaway. It's not the character she's playing anymore.
I actually, yeah, that's exactly what it is, and it's also directed by Robert Zemeckis, who did Back to the Future. So that's already enough for me to want to be excited for that movie.
Yeah, I hope this is like Back to the Future Zemeckis and not more recent movies, Zemeckis, where he tries to get a little more into like the technology and stuff, and not as much the stories.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see just because it's premiering on HBO Max. But that'll do it for me. Some honorable mentions I will say was Hocus Pocus and
Oh
even
yeah, for sure.
and basically anything on Disney Plus. Phantom Megaplex, My Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire,
Halloween Town.
Halloween Town, and also another one that's on Netflix right now. I really do recommend for those fans are Goosebumps. That's the last
Oh,
one
I
that's on.
thought you were gonna say Hubie Halloween.
Oh no. I mean, if I had Adam Sandler's wealth, I'd probably be making movies like he is now, where I just don't care and I'm just doing it for the money because I can. But no, Goosebumps is another childhood favorite where it's a horror series, not necessarily a movie, but each episode's like its own movie. So I definitely recommend that show to check out.
Yeah.
But
That the movie Goosebumps with Jack Black wasn't bad either, and that other movie he did, the house with the clock in the walls or something like that, right? The house and the clock in its walls or something.
Jack
The
Black, almost everything he touches turns to gold.
Yeah, I mean that was those two are actually some pretty good family horror movies, I would say.
Those are definitely movies I would recommend for people to check out too. The first Goosebumps, not the second one. The first one's actually really good from what I remember. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, that'll do it for me, man. Anything else you want to throw out there? Or are you good?
No, I mean I just threw those last ones. That's all I could think of off the top of my head.
And again, if we didn't mention anything, please keep in mind we just want to throw out some of our favorites that really get us in the mood, and we want everyone to experience these movies without getting too terrified. Bunch of pansies, in my opinion.
If you're a horror lightweight, then these are some good movies for you. Or if you're just a younger kid.
Yes, Byrne put it to you guys very politely, where I'm straight up. Don't be a pansy. It's Halloween. It's okay to get scared.
Don't be a baby.
But yeah, next time we'll definitely be talking about some of our favorite ultimate horror movies, whether they be terrifying or gross, gory, or just straight up cool. Still,
Yeah, this is
you
the
know?
uncensored list.
Yes, for definitely it will be a more adult friendly version. But that'll do it for us. We're gonna go play some Haunting in Verdansk on some Modern Warfare.
Oh yeah, we're gonna find some zombies.
Some
Ooh,
zombies,
zombies.
so whoever has the Leatherface skin, and also Billy the Jigsaw character.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right, man. Well, like I said, I'll talk to you soon, and everybody, please comment or just subscribe. Let us know what we also should have mentioned in this. We'll definitely check them out, and also be a little spooky this season. I know everything's not so great for plenty of people, so let's try and be as positive and not take our minds off that when we can.
Yeah, the spirit of Halloween lives within us, so we can, celebrate it within ourselves and just the things we do and everything. We don't need to keep with the traditions. We can celebrate by watching movies and having fun with that.
Absolutely, but yeah, keep on staying bodacious and keep on ranting. I'll talk to you soon, Bern.
Adios, brother man.
Adios.